So the next rest of the course, we're going to again talk about the principles to build momentum in every aspect of your life. So this is just work. Now, the first thing though is this, the very first bullet that I want to share with you, and I want you to really write down these notes, is this piece right here. If we're going to build momentum, if we want to generate enough force and effort for us to go to the next level, the very first thing we have to do is commit. I can talk about 20,000 different strategies of how to build momentum, but if you don't commit to building momentum, if you don't commit to excellence, nothing will ever happen. Okay? There's that joke I'm sure you guys have heard where they use it as an illustration, the joke between the pig and the chicken. And the chicken says, I'm committed, and the pig says, I beg to differ. You're involved, but you're not committed. And the chicken's like, yes, I am committed. No, you're not. You just put up the egg. I got to give my body. I'm committed. Right? That pork is going to die for you to eat. That chicken is just giving you the eggs. You guys follow the difference? And so part of that is you have to be fully committed and engaged in what you do. So this is an amazing quote that I want to hit with, is commitment is the igniter of momentum. Without commitment, you get nothing. And the reason why commitment is so important is because commitment basically represents a decision that you make. You could be thinking about things all day long. You could be coming up with ideas all day long, but until you commit to one idea and actually put it to practice, what is it? It's just an idea. It's useless. And that's the problem with most people today. They have a lot of ideas, but they're absolutely not committed to any one thing. And I could take this into a whole spiritual thing. Maybe I will later about it. But this is what makes the difference between absolute truth versus the realism culture that is being developed in our country today. Right? There has to be a legitimate standard that we go by. If there is no standard, how can you follow it? And if it's your own reality, at the end of the day, 2 plus 2 is what? It's 4. But I think it's 3. Well, even if I think it's 3 and I wish it to be 3 and I wear a t-shirt that says 3, at the end of the day, 2 plus 2 is 4, which means that absolute truth is restrictive in nature because it's absolute.
Yeah.
You guys follow what I'm saying? So this, you can look at this in the spiritual aspect, but you can look at this with a commitment. You can say I'm committed, but are you fully committed? Because there's a standard that is absolute about commitment. Everybody with me so far? So what I want to challenge everybody to do here is not fair if, let's say, Steve is committed, Karina is not, and I always mispronounce your name, Enid. I want to say Edelin, I don't know why. And Enid is committed. And here's why. If they're working together on a project and they're holding each other by the hand, if Karina's not committed, but they are, they're going to fail. Now, are they failing because Enid didn't do her, wasn't committed? No, they're failing because she grabbed the wrong hand.
Yeah.
She should have bypassed Karina, and grabbed Steve's hand. Why? Because when push comes to shove, if Steve is fully committed to the cause, Steve will have your back.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're holding on to Karina and she's not fully committed, Karina's doing you an injustice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's imperative that we all look at each other and say, are we committed to this cause? Are we committed to one another? Because if we're not committed, right, we're just involved. And being involved doesn't cut it when we want to build momentum to the next level.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to make that choice from here. But if you're not committed, I'm going to ask you, find somewhere else to be committed. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Right? I don't want you to ever feel like, well, if you're not with us, you suck. Right? That's not the way it works. Right? As I look at you, he's laughing, but you kind of suck. No. But the point I'm trying to make is maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you like, graphic design, for example, and we don't have a need for a graphic design. So you're going to be sitting here working towards a cause that really you're not passionate about, that you're not really committed. So if that's the case, find a commitment. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Same thing when you walk with God. Get committed, because without commitment, you're just involved. And involved equals lukewarm water.
Yep.
So that's the point I'm trying to make. Now, understand this. Commitment is a quality of being dedicated to a cause. And when you commit, you empower those around you to join in the journey of momentum. And I'm going to say that again. When you commit to your team, you literally empower those around you to join them on the journey to momentum. And guys, let me tell you, with momentum, there is so much success. Yeah. With momentum, you look like a superhero. even if you're not. Why? Because you have the ball rolling in such a degree that literally it goes over obstacles. The things that right now would frustrate you won't frustrate you when you're moving forward because you have trajectory. Let me give you an example on finance before I talk about what actions reflect commitment versus what actions don't. And so here's a perfect analogy. When you see somebody struggling financially, or even in their health, in many cases, when it's self-inflicted, obviously there's some cases we have no control over. Yeah. But when you're struggling financially and you're really not doing anything about it, you just come to work, you're sitting there, you don't really have any aggressive approach, right? The first thing that pops in your mind is not, oh, opportunity. The first thing that pops in your mind is, oh my God, I gotta pay my bills. Oh my God, I gotta get this done. Oh my goodness, I don't have anybody to call. Oh my goodness, the phone didn't ring this week, right? You start looking at all the negative. Why? Anybody know why? Because when you don't have momentum, you're focused on the only thing in front of you. And the only thing in front of you is the obstacle, right? That's the reason why people fail, because all they focus on is the bad instead of doing something, committing to say, well, these are just stepping stones. Yeah. I could see that mountain up here. When I get up there, wow. That's the difference in that frame of mind, is getting to the point where you say, you know, it doesn't matter what I'm dealing with right now. The important thing is I'm going to go through it and I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to be successful. I'm going to commit to climb this mountain. Does that make sense? Yeah. When you commit, then what happens is instead of being focused on the obstacle, you literally make your obstacle the stepping stone because your focus is the top of the mountain. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And let me tell you this, when you take the first step, it's scary. The second step, it becomes normal. Little by little, you get used to the climb. It doesn't mean the obstacle's gone. The obstacle is literally right in front of you. The difference is when you commit, you make it your footstool. Yeah. And you climb over and over. But what do you think happens when you get about 75% of the way? All of a sudden, that finish line gets a little bit closer and you've developed enough momentum. You know how to grab, you know how to pull yourself. You've built that momentum. So before you know it, even if you're exhausted, you can't turn back now. Yeah. Because you've come too far, right? And all of a sudden, that momentum gives you the energy to move forward so that you can climb to the top. And then when you get to the top, it's like, wow. Mm-hmm. And if you're like me, you get to the top, because I've done it a few times, and you're like, what's next? Right? Because you feel accomplished. You feel that you have purpose. Oh my gosh, how many people are going to change? That's why this educational business was added, is to give opportunity here. But it's because I wanted to find a vehicle that gave me the outlet to make a difference around the world. Yeah. And with that vehicle, we can. Does that make sense?